You must prepare for war. You must be ready for battle. It's true. Lego the beast. We the champions. We the champions. We the champions. We the champions.
Just call me Mr. Mashup. Everything I get mash up. When I touch the stage, I make the people put their hands up. Yeah, you know the genre. That is how we raise up. Like Ratty and say, everybody jump fucker. Some people don't rate me, but we don't give a hoot. If you have a hater, let me see your hands them up. And let them fools be talking. My dogs do more than barking. We about that action, we ain't really come to talk. Tell them hush them out. If they really don't know what they're talking about. Overconfident about they run the wrong. But I promise you one thing. Anytime you step foot with our we inside this ring, we gon' be the last one standing. From the time we strike up the band, watch the people them start to jam. We'll be the last one standing. Watch the hand and foot start to swing. Now we mash up everything. Now hey, 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 hey.
Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance. Join host Fearless Warrior and the Dauntless crew every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Tune in this week as we welcome our special guest, businessman Mr. Mikey Joseph, Director, Structural and Mechanical Agencies Limited, Chairman, Termite Attack Limited and Partner SMAL Engineering Services Limited. Watch the show live on our Bounce Up Central platform and social media channels, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Keep the conversation going before, during, and even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat on Bounce Up Central at bounceup.com. Bounce Up Central Network. Tune in for shows like Let We Talk to Ting with Sister Jenny every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Culture Points on Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. And Fine Point with Fearless Warrior at various showtimes. For more news, informative content, entertainment, special events, discussion forums, Bounce Up Radio, movie watch parties, and to even bus a mark anonymously, visit our Bounce Up Central Community Hub, the platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we. Keep the conversation going, even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat at bounceup.com. If you have a passion for news, politics, culture, music, sports, technology, and helping your community, we invite you to come join the Bounce Up Central Network family. Come join us. Bounce Up Central Network. We're ready to bounce up to Carnival 2025.
As we prepare for Bounce Up Carnival 2025, we want to make sure that you are also ready with us on the road, in the fets, in the clubs, Calypso, Down Skinner Park, Panyard, Peregrinades, Midnight Rubbers, even the barman, the bawa, what do you call him? The bow, what do you call him again? The barman, no, not the barman, the stick fighting. Yeah, stick fighting. So, get ready. 2025, we on the road. Bounce Up Carnival. Don't miss it. You dig?
For more news, informative content, entertainment, special events, tune in to Culture Point Show Thursdays at 8 p.m. and visit our Bounce Up Central Community Hub, the platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we.
Yes, good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Fine Point tonight. And we do a little recap before we bring in our guest tonight, which is Mr. Saunders, one of the candidates contesting for the PSA election, and he's going to tell us some information because last time we had him on, and the audio wasn't all that good, but we're going to have him back here, and we have lots to talk about tonight. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, share the live. Also, go to our platform. If you want to chat in our platform, 24 hours live chat, you can also do that too. So, and get in on the conversation. So tonight, I want to do a little recap of last night when I was down at doing the live coverage at Balisier House, and I want to congratulate all the candidates who would have gotten the nod, and all those who didn't get the nod. I also want to congratulate you all for actually going down there, going for your screening, going before screening committee, and presenting yourself and your argument on why should you be given the nod over the other person to become a candidate in the election. Today is also Mr. Fitzgerald Hines' birthday. Yes, today, I think it's today or yesterday it was. But it's his birthday, and happy birthday to you, Mr. Fitzgerald Hines. Although you no longer will be the prospective candidate in the election for 2025, and there's a new candidate who has now taken, who is the prospective candidate, I should say, who until nomination day, who has now assumed that position to take the mantle onwards to 2025 and beyond. Now, one of the things was that because a lot of candidates that were being screened, and they were fast and furious at one point in time, and then reached Laventille West, where it spent about nearly close to 45 minutes, if so much. And it was a battle between the doctor and Kareem Marcel, and well, Kareem automatically came out victorious. And I talked with the doctor, and the doctor was normal. She was in normal mood. She said that she's going to go back into the community, and she's going to do a little more work into the community itself and be known amongst some of the parties and the party groups and these different things. So I want to say hats off to Kedel, Dr. Kedel Jasami, for actually putting her nominations in. So we had two young persons who would have contested the Laventille West seat. With Laventille East now, that was a no-show last night, although the executive did show up. But nobody knew what was going on with the candidate at the time. And we heard today that it was because of personal family issues. So they will have to go to screening on the 20th of December. So on the 20th of December, you're going to get Tobago East, Tobago West, Laventille East, and one other constituency, 4 constituencies will be vying on that day. So the process is heating up in how the candidates are being selected. And let me tell you something, there's a process, and I keep saying it, although one wannabe journalist or wannabe reporter try to feel that they could have boxed the Fearless Warrior into this kind of a way to say what I wanted to say. And I keep maintaining, I keep saying there's a process, let the process go forward, and the party has a structure. So once the party has a structure, nobody should be asking if the process, if you find that democracy and a sort of foolish questions. And let me tell you something. Sometimes I have zero tolerance for foolishness. Zero tolerance. And you just really wonder if the education officers of the different party groups, as well as the party, is doing their job in terms of edifying the members on the processes or the processes of how things are done within the party. And that is something that needs to be dealt with urgently, because there are too many persons who just going around the place, don't know the processes that supposed to be taking place, and they're making all sorts of foolish statements, things that could bring the party into disrepute, into the media, and all these different things. So I think that that needs to be dealt with urgently, because a lot has been learned last night. Also, I didn't go to film anybody in terms of filming no executive. I went to see if I could do interviews and with the candidates, as well as to get some feedback from some of the councillors who would have been there, some of the different persons, candidates, executives. And if it's one thing I admire, and I want to say categorically clear, that Darren Corridor stepped up to the plate and he said it. He didn't business. He spoke his mind. And that to me was democracy at its best, because one, he felt as though he wasn't given an opportunity to be heard. And he made it clear last night, because it was said publicly, it was breaking news that there was a division in the Laventille West, executive, and they didn't want to, and it was said in the public domain that they didn't support the two candidates, when that was not true. You did have members of the executive who were supporting candidates, and you had them who had their personal agendas, as Darren Corridor did mention last night. And I want to commend Darren Corridor for actually standing up and saying that, hey, there's something wrong here. We need to fix it. And when he goes up, when he goes upstairs, I don't know if what he would have said, because he would have asked the executive, and he may have presented and said, well, okay, yes, X, Y, and Z, and so on, so on, so on, so on, the case. And they would have listened. So they would have realized that there was a split in the executive. So I want to commend Darren Corridor for standing up. And that, to me, is about democracy and how you deal with making decisions as an executive. It must not be perceived as though it is not, there's no form of democracy. There must be some form of democracy. And if it is that people want to vent their views, they must be allowed to vent their views. So you did hear it. It's not me who said it last night on my live. He did make a statement, and he was proud that his candidate, who he was backing, which was Kareem Marcel, got the nod. There was a big fanfare, drums and all the different things happening there. So, you know, I want to say hats off and wish them all the best moving forward from here on. With the whole aspect of the different some of the different candidates would have been there, like Mr. Brian Manning, Mr. Faris Alwari, and many others who got their nods, and some of them retained their space to go back up. I want to say hats off to you all, and Remember, it's about service, service, service. So they will be hitting the ground running, seeing what is happening. But I think some of them would have already known what is happening in the communities that may need to be fixed or probably need a little more tweaking in between. So hats off to them. So it was a very long night last night. It was a very long night last night. And Miss Penelope Beckers would have been given the nod. Miss Camille Robinson Regis would have been given the nod over Alicia Hospitales. And I think Alicia Hospitales just felt good to get back in the political arena. You know, there's some people that just want to be part of the process. And people should not vex with some people if they want to, just go and I want to experience it again. I want to get that experience. And there was no real bad blood between any of the candidates and them, really and truly. And that was really nice. And she's willing to, and she's working with the candidate in terms of moving forward because she's on the executive of the constituency. So it was really good to see the camaraderie, but also the togetherness. And I hope that despite what may have been played out, that everything will work out. And at the end of the day, the mission is 2025. And in terms of governance and getting back into office in 2025. So I will now having looked at that, and I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I want to now go to my guest now. Let me just make sure that my guest is ready, because I want to make sure that all systems go for my guest to come in, and so that we can have Mr. Oral Saunders on with us on screen live tonight. Let me just give him a call and hold the action in the green room, and we will be right back after these little breaks. Take it.
Dauntless defenders of good governance. Join host Fearless Warrior and the Dauntless crew every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Tune in this week as we welcome our special guest, businessman, Mr. Mikey Joseph, Director, Structural and Mechanical Agencies Limited, Chairman, Termite Attack Limited and Partner SMAL Engineering Services Limited. Watch the show live on our Bounce Up Central platform and social media channels, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Keep the conversation going before, during, and even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat on Bounce Up Central at bounceup.com. Bounce Up Central Network. Tune in for shows like Let We Talk to Ting with Sister Jenny every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Culture Points on Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. And Fine Point with Fearless Warrior at various showtimes. For more news, informative content, entertainment, special events, discussion forums, Bounce Up Radio, movie watch parties, and to even bust a mark anonymously, visit our Bounce Up Central Community Hub, the platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we. Keep the conversation going, even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat at bounceup.com. If you have a passion for news, politics, culture, music, sports, technology, and helping your community, we invite you to come join the Bounce Up Central Network family. Come join us. Bounce Up Central Network. We ready to bounce up to Carnival 2025.
As we prepare for Bounce Up Carnival 2025, we want to make sure that you are also ready with us on the road in the fets, in the clubs, Calypso, down Skinner Park, Panyard, Peregrinards, Midnight Rubbers, even the barman, the bawa, what do they call him? The bow, what do they call him again? The barman, not the barman, the stick fighting. Yeah, stick fighting. So, get ready. 2025, we on the road. Bounce Up Carnival. Don't miss it. You dig?
For more news, informative content, entertainment, special events, tune in to Culture Point Show Thursdays at 8 p.m. and visit our Bounce Up Central Community Hub, the platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we.
Yes, created for we, by we. And tonight is Fine Point. And as my guest is getting ready to come in, yes, as my guest is getting ready to come in, remember tomorrow night, we do have Mr. Mikey Joseph here, and he was the former Contractors Association chairman, and we'll be talking a number of things in terms of, you know, like procurement, and so get your questions in. Good governance we're dealing with also. So get your questions in. Whatever question you want to ask, and we will answer right here on the platform. Yes, so good evening, Miss Althea Che George. Don't start on me, okay? I don't know what they're talking about. Nibeo E or Nabio E. You know, good evening, good evening, good evening. Share, like, subscribe, register with the platform. So let me check to see if my guest is reached. No, he's not here yet. And let me just see some of the questions here. Oh, yeah, so Miss Point Manor is here. Mr. Wayne Gibson is here. You know, so there are some people who are watching but don't want to come on the stage. So they're watching through the links that are available. Let me find out what is holding up my guest here. But nevertheless, remember we are bouncing to Carnival 2025, and also we are taking. So let me just take one quick look, and that's it. Yeah, so we'll be, I mean, you know, I'm going to say we'll be right back. All right, so we are back. So we're just waiting for the guest to come in, and he's ready to go, ready to talk. So we have, and I want people who want to hear, please wake them up. We have a number of things to talk tonight. And also, we'll be looking to have a debate. Yes, we'll also be looking to have a debate right here on Bounce Up, whereby we are asking all the candidates, or all the prospective candidates, or if it's one team, we want to know if there's one team, and you know, how is this thing going to be played out? Because election is right smack basically Carnival. So campaigns have to start. So we want to know how we're ready to move forward, and are we ready to go? Let's see my candidate. My candidate. What's it telling my brain last night? But let me get a joke by last night, eh? Let me get a joke by last night. Bye. Here now. Some people was vexed because I asked them questions, you know. Some people was vexed last night, you know. Number of things to talk is politics. When you run a lie, when you run for love until East, who's that? Me? If I would run for love until East, anytime. Anytime. If they offer me if they ask me to go up for love until East, I don't have a problem with that. I'm ready to serve. I'm always serving. I'm always on the ground, and not just on the ground, but I'm ready to go into the parliament to deal with the business of the people. So yeah, if they call on me, I have no problem with that. I don't run from work, you know. I don't run from the work. So let me see here. I don't understand how he's not here. I am ready to boy. Yeah, I'm always ready to work. I'm always ready to work, she. But remember, you can if you want to, if you have, let me say, you know, you want support or help with your little business in terms of getting somebody to help you do your business plan. Yeah, to get somebody to assist you with your business plan. No problem with that. We are there to help you. Where is I don't understand that. I'll send you the link. I don't understand what where. Yeah, I sent in the link. I don't understand where he is. And I send over the link again. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, so we are ready to move forward into the 21st century and to make sure. He said he's in the studio. No, you're not in the studio. Where's studio in? No, you're not in my studio. I don't understand that. Hey. I don't understand that. What? I just. Right. So you reach that point there. You're not in the studio yet, Mr. Saunders. You need to make sure the mic working and everything, and then you press enter. Press enter. Just scroll up, and you'll see enter and enter the studio. You need to enter. Oh boy, technology sometimes. Technology. Ah, yes. But not the first time. They said not opening, but I don't understand. If in that part there, we'll be right back. Let me be right back, and we'll be right back, and let's be right back. We'll be right back. Let me just sort out this thing here fast.
We so often overlook the breath in our lungs, the love of those around us, the strength to face each new day. No matter the challenges we face, there is always something to lift our hearts in gratitude. Let us live with a spirit of joy and be truly, deeply thankful.
And now we welcome Brother Darrell for his contribution.
Another day above ground, I see. I focusing on the positives, because yesterday I was down. People do me wrong, but it's love in the heart. When they try to take me for clown, I do them no wrong. Charger have we back, and I shouting, oh Lord, I'm thankful, oh Lord, I'm thankful. It's you who give me health and strength. Oh Lord, I'm thankful. It's you give me the handful. Every day you're blessing me. Only it and back and it's nothing we nature. Money in we pocket. This life I want love it. Only it and back and it's nothing we nature. Food on the table. I could and I'm able. Take a jump up and wait. I thankful for life. To see another sunrise. But you want up in the air. All the stress on your mind. Put them problems aside. And give thanks, yeah, for another day. Don't forget to pray. And give thanks, yeah, for another day. Don't forget to pray. Another day above ground, I say, thank you, Father. I'm focusing on the positives, cause yesterday I was down. Today I feel strong. Yes, it's love in the heart. Dirty up my name, my wrong tongue. I do them no wrong. Jaja happy back. And I'm shouting, oh Lord, I'm thankful, oh Lord, I'm thankful. It's you who give me health and strength. Oh Lord, I'm thankful. It's you give me the handful. Every day you're blessing me. Only a turn back and it's nothing we nature. Money in we pocket. This life I want love it. Only a turn back and it's nothing we nature. Food on we table. I good than I ever. We can jump up and wave. I thankful for life. To see another sunrise. My two one up in the air. All the stress on your mind. Put them problems aside. And give thanks, yeah, for another day. Don't forget to pray. And give thanks, yeah, for another day. Don't forget to pray. I'm mindful. Be mindful. I'm so for a new day, for a new day. Hey, I'm thankful, I'm thankful, I'm thankful, Lord. Always be thankful. Oh Lord, I'm thankful.
So we are back. All right. Somebody check your mic.
Check,
again,
check.
feedback.
Check.
All
Microphone
right.
check.
Hold on. All right. Just now, hold on. All right.
Right.
Again, a little feedback. You have some other device playing also?
No, I don't have anything on. Hold on. Let me just close a few things.
Yeah, check it.
What about there?
All right. So that better?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Are you hearing me loud and clear?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right. So good evening, Mr. Oral Saunders. Yeah, what
A
you
pleasure.
do? Mute your mic. Right. So good evening, Mr. Oral Saunders, and welcome to Fine Point. And let's start to rumble. Introduce yourself, Mr. Oral Saunders.
A pleasant good night to you, comrade. Are you hearing me loud and clear tonight?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear, maximum.
Wonderful. Well, my name is Comrade Oral Saunders. For those persons who aren't aware, I have been a member of the Public Services Association in excess of 32 years. In fact, just yesterday, I celebrated my 32nd year in the public service as a member of the nursing team. But within recent times, you would have recognized that the Public Services Association allowed for persons like myself as a young man back in those days to come in, and I was ushered into the PSA after challenging the PSA because I came in with the RHAs. And when the RHAs really came on stream, we were dissatisfied in terms of how things were going. And the challenge then and there was for us to get involved in the PSA and to be the change that we wanted to see in not only the RHA system, not only in the public service, but definitely in the PSA and wherever representation was needed. So I was brought in, I should say, by Mr. Stephen Thomas, first vice president, and I came in as an ordinary member, quickly becoming a PSA activist. I moved on to being the top recruiter within the PSA, winning a wonderful prize. I can recall, although it was so many years ago, I would have won the top prize. I had the best performance section. We would have been a part of that. I served on several committees within the PSA. The Queen Show, the HIV/AIDS committee. I was also moved on to the youth arm, where I became the chairman of the youth arm. I also served on the Queen Show committee. I came on also to becoming a grievance officer, male caucus chairman, and comrade, there's so many things I would have passed through, but eventually reaching up to the point of general secretary with the largest vote in the PSA for quite some time, still yet to be broken.
Still yet to be broken. So let me ask you this question. So we're gonna get to the meat of this whole thing tonight, because election has been called and the bell has been rung for the PSA to move forward to March the 10th, 2025. Question. There was a meeting that was held with various parties to bring everybody together under one banner. What is happening with that at this present moment?
Well, comrade, let me thank you for having me once again. And to bring your listeners and yourself up to speed, although I really don't want to waste too much time on it, but let me just clear the air. What happened is that we, as leaders of the several parties that contested the last election in the year 2020, would have recognized that that formula was a losing formula against the incumbent. And therefore, listening to the voices of hundreds and thousands of persons asking for some unification within the PSA, we decided to come together, and that would have been persons like Mr. Curtis Coffey, Mr. NIXON Callender, and myself, who would have shown an interest in going forward. Mr. Murray, who was the former first vice president of the PSA, would have retired and moved on. We didn't get, I don't know what happened with Comrade Cover, but we had those persons coming together along with some other top activists. I didn't form the committee. The committee was formed by somebody very known in the public domain. And that meeting that brought us together started the unification process. So after several months and weeks of meeting, where we were hammering out the pathway forward, and it was really interesting, to be honest. Everything was going fine until we reached to the juncture of choosing a leader. Now, myself and the other comrade NIXON Callender, face vigorous questioning from that committee. The number one question asked by persons who were on that committee to me was, Mr. Saunders, if you are not chosen as the presidential candidate, will you continue with the team to go towards the election, serving as a first VP or wherever you would be needed? Now, this was a very big sacrifice to me, because you would recall, comrade, at the last election, the United Public Officers, we were the most successful after the incumbent, Mr. Watson Duke at the time. But in spite of that, comrade, I recognize that more importantly than my feelings and the history that I have in the Public Services Association, the consistency of standing up and speaking out, over the years, I decided, Oral, this is bigger than you. Get on board and give your commitment regardless. And I did. The same question was asked of Mr. Callender. At the end of that meeting, when a vote was taken, Comrade Fearless Warrior, I became victorious from the persons who attended the meeting. And we congratulated one another. Mr. Callender congratulated me. I also congratulated Mr. Callender because we knew at the time what was important, which was the views of the members. However, within 48 hours of that decision being made, Mr. Callender decided to pick up all of his marbles and he didn't want to play anymore. He left. Persons asked him why, and he raised an issue where he did not even provide evidence. He said he got some texts saying persons were aligned to some political party, and as far as I was concerned, comrade, that was nonsensical, because the most important thing, which was union leaders coming together, teams coming together to provide leadership and to save this union, because we recognize that the current executive led by Mr. Leroy Batiste is a clear and present danger to the PSA and also the public service. So that is what we were saying, but the reality is, from the time an individual did not get his way to becoming the leader, he decided that he would walk away. And nothing after that, as far as I am concerned, was in favor of the views of the members. Because if that person truly cared and really was a man of his word, because he would have given his word. If it is he was a man of his word, if it is he cared about the public service, if it is he cared about the PSA in the manner in which he tries to portray himself, he would never have walked away from that unity pact, because his views or my views are inconsequential to what the membership wanted. There must be a leader, Comrade Fearless Warrior. There must be a leader.
Well,
and go ahead, sorry.
But let me ask you a question. Who was the chairman of that particular meeting?
Comrade Sister Jennifer Frederick.
And what did you all, when this whole thing happened, did you all go back to the moderator and try to address the situation?
Comrade, we all were online. That meeting finished probably after 12. It was a long night because we both were rigorously questioned. So the host and chairperson was there. She was a part of the committee. But persons would have spoken out at telling him, Mr. Callender, well, you know, we are disappointed. Why are you deciding to leave? And he was adamant that he cannot go forward with this team. And I'm simply saying, comrade, anytime we think we are bigger than this mission that lies ahead, which is to rebuild this union, to revive this union, and to restore this union, we are not ready for leadership if you think you are bigger than the mission that lies ahead. The issues plaguing the public service, persons being temporarily appointed both in the public service and in WASA, the threat of authorities coming on stream, the fact that public officers continue to work on 2013 salaries in the year 2024, and soon it will be the year 2025. The fact that the current executive of the PSA, led by Mr. Leroy Batiste, was not voted, he was not voted for by the rank and file membership. The fact that he is the only person in the history, the over 85 years old PSA's history, as a president would have caused the Constitution to be amended to facilitate him staying on beyond the age of 60. These are the issues plaguing public officers. Public officers are complaining that their group health plan checks that they would have submitted, their claims, that they would have submitted, in many instances, they have not received it in months. And persons have even called me and told me, Comrade Saunders, is over a year. I have not gotten back my check. The fact that so many public officers are crying out for reclassification because they know what they are giving and called upon to give is of such that the PSA should be pursuing representation as our #1 priority. The fact that the current administration of the PSA has practically outsourced representation to a dream of theirs of voting out the current government and throwing their support, in other words, practicing naked politics to public officers, is disgraceful. These are the issues plaguing PSA members and the wider public service. The fact that persons who would have retired, they would have given their sweat and their blood and their tears over the years, working in excess of 40 years in the public service in many instances, and they are still receiving a pension based on 2013. Those are the issues that public officers want the PSA to deal with, Comrade Fearless Warrior. And if anyone who wants to put themselves up for leadership of the PSA is saying, I will not unite because I have a problem with Party A or Mr. Z, then that person can never unite the Public Services Association, because in their own mind, their head is bigger than their shoulders, and that is sad.
Let me ask you this question. How do we fix this problem that is happening at this point in time with the two prospective candidates who may lead the team? How do we fix this problem?
Comrade, as I said to you a while ago, both myself and Mr. Callender would have gone through a vigorous committee screening. We would have met for months in several meetings, agreeing on practically every single issue in terms of going forward. Think about what I'm saying. We would have agreed on basically every single thing going forward in terms of how we are going to approach leadership, the restructuring of the PSA, ensuring that members receive the value of their contributions of $100, knowing fully well that our members pay the salaries of the PSA executive officers even before receiving their own salaries. We were talking about the respect of the PSA officers to that sacrifice, because, comrade, as I speak to you tonight, many public officers, if they could get $1,200 in their pocket right now, it would go a long way. Whether it would be to assist in traveling expenses, whether it could provide groceries for at least a week and a half or maybe a week based on their preferences. Going forward requires maturity. It requires persons to look in the mirror and understand that there's no one individual that can turn this union around. And I want to be on record to say that I do not believe that any one individual can do such. I have my strengths and I have my weaknesses. However, Mr. Callender also has some strengths and his weaknesses. But the question is, when you want to choose a leader, the best gauge you can use is to use their past history. And when
Before we get to that, my question is, are you willing to offer yourself up for a debate against Nixon Calendar on a neutral platform?
I would not be bothered, comrade, and let me be honest. I will not waste your time or the members' time to debate Mr. Calendar, because Mr. Calendar, as far as we are concerned, the United Public Officers, he has just returned from suspension for over 14 years. The question is not whether he won those cases, but the question remains, why was Mr. Calendar arrested by the police and placed on suspension in the first instance? And when you examine those things, wait, let me finish the point. You could always go back to it. The point is, comrade, we have no fear of Mr. Calendar, you know. But what we want you to understand is that Mr. Calendar does not meet our basic threshold for someone to be taken seriously for wanting to be the president of the PSA with his track record. We have a problem, and our focus on that problem is the incumbent. It is Mr. Leroy Batiste. And in any person he chooses to place at the head of his team, because whether it is the first vice president, Ms. Felicia Thomas, whether it is a young man who just found a voice in WASA, whether it is his second VP, it doesn't matter. Toot bagay. All of them, once you pull off their mask, it is Leroy Batiste. That is the problem. The problem is poor representation. We would want to debate the incumbents because the incumbent is the problem. There has been absolutely no training for the representatives of the PSA in over 14 years. The last time the PSA would have sent persons to train in terms of industrial relations was way back in the year 2009. And that was under not Mr. Watson Duke's tenure, that was under his predecessor, Mrs. Jennifer Batiste Primus, her tenure. That is where it really had the last training and development for public servants. Let me tell you the kind of things we had in the PSA, which the United Public Office. Sorry.
No, hold on. I don't want to jump too fast in this thing, because I want to ask a question. So when Mr. Nixon Calendar went up in the last election with a team, he wasn't actually on the job at that point in time either.
I think you should ask Mr. Calendar. You will be interviewing him soon, and ask him if he was indeed truthful, because when we went out on the campaign trail to inform public officers that he was indeed under suspension, they were much taken aback, because they are asking, what manner of man is this? How can you place yourselves for an election if you have been suspended? And that was not to cast any aspersions on him, but we were talking about the character of the candidate, the man himself. The character is the most critical thing in going forward, because I'll tell you something, Fearless. This job is an opportunity for persons to see all of these players. They have seen Mr. Leroy Batiste and his proxies. So no matter who he puts up, it is Leroy Batiste. They would have seen myself, because they would have known that I was elected as the General Secretary under the Watson Duke tenure of the Team Pioneers team, in which Mr. Calendar was also a member. They would have seen what I did, which was to stand up against not only Mr. Watson Duke and the entire executive at the time, when I was expelled as a member of the PSA. I am the only person that Mr. Duke and the then consultant of the PSA, which was Mr. Leroy Batiste, chose to expel because they wanted to silence me. And speaking about Mr. Batiste and Mr. Callender have a lot in common. A lot. And what they have in common, because every time you hear Mr. Callender speak, he likes to refer to himself as the former General Secretary of the PSA. Truth be told, the rank and file members of the PSA never voted for Mr. Callender to be the General Secretary. He was appointed to that post. Let's fast forward to the year 2022, when Mr. Duke was indeed successful in the THA. And what transpired? He had to make a decision because his intention at the time was to stay in the two positions, the two full-time positions. But the then Honorable Minister or Attorney General, Mr. Faris Alwari, would have sent correspondence to him, letting him know that he had to choose. And in choosing, Mr. Duke chaired a special conference where Mr. Leroy Batiste was also appointed, not facing the rank and file membership through an election. So as far as the United Public Officers team is concerned, both Mr. Callender and Mr. Batiste is cut from the same bolt of cloth. Let's not mince words tonight. The days for playing is over. This is serious time. And to go forward, we need to be truthful. We need to be truthful, and we need to let people know that even with all of that baggage, I am still saying the home of the United Public Officers is still open for any right-thinking, confident, and committed member of the PSA who wants to truly make a change and join the only credible alternative to this current administration. The home of the United Public Officers remains open. Our doors are open. There are no fence in front of the United Public Officers. There is no shield protecting the members from any outsiders. We stand united. We are a team of dedicated, hard-working. And let me just tell you something as that's going on. What we would have done is to get persons who even work with Mr. Duke to come on board with the United Public Officers. Persons who would have worked with Comrade Cover to get on board with us. Persons who would have even had to work with Mr. Curtis Coffey, and even persons who would have worked with the labor warriors, Comrade Murray. All of those persons have recognized Oral. It's not that you are better than anybody, you know, but Oral, we respect your consistency. Because some of those persons that came on board, they and I had fallen outs in the past, but they were more mature than Mr. Callender because they were willing to put aside our differences, understanding that Mr. Saunders wants to make a better PSA, and I, in return, accepting that those persons have always been dedicated and wanted to make a difference in the public service, but they were not given the opportunity to do such. And therefore, we opened the doors for the United Public Officers, for them to come in, for us to share our strengths, share our values, share our vision, and work for the public service. Because we recognize that there are so many traveling officers today, and those traveling officers want to get an increase in traveling loans so that they could get 4x4 vehicles to go in remote areas to do their job. Persons, as I said, who continue to be temporarily employed. What about the workers in the NIB who are also still working on outdated salaries, although they have an agreement in front of them, although the management would have budgeted for a salary increase and subsequent back pay, but it has not been happening. We recognize that sorry, go ahead.
Let me answer. Yeah, I do want you to because I know you're passionate about what you want to see in the PSA. But I want to ask these questions because these questions are coming up fast and serious, and people are asking these questions. Now, the moderator, you said that was Miss Jennifer Fredericks, would have been the one who would have been seeing about the whole
the entire
whole
committee.
aspect.
Together. She chose the persons and she brought the persons together.
Right. So she would have brought all the committee members together. And the question is being asked, there's a flyer being circulated where she would have probably put out, it is alleged that she put it out on a page or sent it out to PSA on PSA page, stating that calling on the election officer to recognize one team and one team only, which is the United Sentinel team. If that is true, isn't that not a conflict of interest?
Comrade, I really do not want to make the actions of an individual who is not running for election an issue. That person is free to put up whatever they want because they could be very much delusional. And you know, comrade, my substantive post in the public service is at the St. Anne's Hospital. So when we see persons behaving in a particular way, we have questions because that individual is fully well aware that what they are, based on what you would have said, that is nonsensical. It is such a nonsensical and moot point because we all knew Mr. Callender as NIXON Callender and Team Sentinel, not so?
Yes, you're right. Team Sentinel, yeah.
Right. How come in 2024, now that an election bell has been rung, all of a sudden, their new name is PSA United Sentinel? Even my name they want to steal. Even my name is not even safe. We have been consistent, comrade. We have always been the United Public Officers. It was an amalgamation of Team Phoenix and the United Protectors. We have never changed our name because our name speaks about our identity and it speaks about our character. Anybody who is trying to mimic the Oral Saunders and the United Public Officers team, calling themselves United, that in itself should tell you a lot about the individual. All the time your name was Team Sentinel, all of a sudden you want to be United Team Sentinel, or whatever you want to call yourself. But result, hold on, the result will be the same. The same way how in the last election, that was really a nuisance vote. Because I don't even think they made more than 200. I don't even think they crossed 300, 200, 210 or something like that. Persons are not taking them on because, comrade Fearless, they are looking at the character. They are looking at the track record. They want to know when Mr. Saunders is back in office. We saw Mr. Saunders stood up to Mr. Watson Duke and said, you see that credit card, you see what was going on there? That is not supposed to be. And he was willing to lose his job for standing up on his principles and his credibility. But we saw another example. We saw somebody on the front page of the newspaper with a baton beating somebody. We saw that. And we also saw on the newspapers, the front page of the newspapers, and we'll produce those front page stories, you know. Those stories will come out sooner or later, because I'm sure police have them somewhere. With persons allegedly crossing the road with one set of money, and there was an individual calling the green duffel bag with the PSA, alleged PSA money. People are still incensed about that, and they will not forget. So when persons are trying to portray themselves as being angelic or being worthy of a debate. They need to clean their character, because the character and the behavior creates and forms your character. Your behavior forms your character. And as I said, comrade, let me just finish the point. Some things can be forgiven, but some things cannot be forgotten.
No, why I ask that question with the flyer going saying that, you know, call to action basically with the election officer of PLC is because when it came out, people was under the impression that there was one united team, and it was United Sentinel team that was going forward to represent all the parties together. And now you are saying that that is not true and that is misleading. So my question is, because I'm just asking the question here on somebody sending in the question here to me, then if the person who called the meeting, is sending a call to action to the election officer, why are they then misinforming the public to let the public know that there's one team when there's not one team? And the moderator, who was most present at that meeting that called all the parties together, knew for a fact that you won the vote. Why then send information to the election officer stating that there's one team and one team alone, which is United Sentinel team? Why do that?
Well, comrade, as I said to you, behavior shapes character. It forms the character of individuals. And that person knows the truth, but refuses to acknowledge that an election took place in the meeting that she chaired. She has refused to acknowledge that myself would have won that vote. And what they were simply trying to do is to mislead the public into believing that there would be one team, which was United Sentinel. Come on, comrade. Persons, you know what's the difference, comrade? Persons have been listening to my voice over the years now. While persons were on suspension, you see these look at this, comrade, look at this. You see this arm here, this wrist? The police never place handcuffs on this wrist. Neither this one. I have never been arrested, but I am prepared to be arrested. I could be arrested for my wife and my family, and I could be arrested for standing up in defense of public officers. But one thing I give you the assurance I will not be arrested for, comrade, is allegedly assaulting anyone, especially the woman, which makes up a large segment of the public service. I didn't put that on the newspapers. I didn't put that on the newspapers, on the front pages of the newspapers. Reporters were present. And anytime someone could be so angry as to behave in such a manner and disregard the fact that they're in public, disregard that they are a high-ranking union official, disregard the presence of reporters who will obviously carry the story, which they did, it speaks volumes about the character of the individual. But let's think about something. You know, there's a saying that the upholders are worse than the thieves. You ever heard that saying?
Yes, yes.
That is the dangerous thing. Because you see, there will always be leaders who would come on stream hoping to fool persons into believing that they are honorable and their intents are noble. They will always have persons like that, you know. But the sad thing is that when persons know these individuals, know the track record, know the character, but they're still endorsing and still supporting individuals like that to be in charge of a union that majority has women, you have to examine them. You have to check them out up here. You have to check them out here too, down in the heart. Because the most reckless thing we could do is to put persons at the helm of organizations that there are questions over their character. But comrade, we have said so much about those individuals. There's so much I want to say about what we want to do because we have spent too much time on them. We are making persons who are unimportant feel they're important. And the truth is, they are not the issue. The issue is poor governance of the place.
Noel, the reason why I asked those questions, because people are asking those questions because they feel the need that we need to get these things out of the way. And here it is, another question is coming in because this is election time, I told you.
Yes.
And people are going to be bringing all kind of information, and they're going to say, hey, X, Y, and Z, so and so and so. So we need to clear those things out of the airwaves now. Because the last election, we had to clear, so now we're going to try to clear more again. The question is, you would have had, Ms. Jennifer Fredericks would have gone up on your team as a member of the United Public Officers. She would have gone up and represented on your team. The question is being asked, what would have happened? One, why she had to move away from your team and over to the opposing side that she was once opposing and talking about, and bringing out the information about that individual. And two, it is said that she alone would have been not really a leader of any section in the union, but she was talking on behalf of the union, and they are saying that something is wrong there. So I'm asking the question, is this true? Is it that she was not a section leader? And two, was she a part of your team, and what happened that she now going across the opposing team and now cussing your team? What happened?
Well, you know, today my wife and I was speaking, and you know, she said something to me that I think is very insightful, and you know, it's instructive. And she said it's something for everyone to be aware of. What she said is that if you and someone is having a good relationship, relatively good relationship, but that person could turn on you, that person was never for you. Think about it. Because if that person was really for you, nothing you do could anger them to the point of not wanting to talk to you, not wanting to support you, not wanting to be a part of you. But the good thing about life and what I have seen in my time is that everything is be a blessing. Sometimes when you think you fall down or you make a stop, to get back up, it takes a lot of courage. Because I know for a fact that the comrade sister of whom you speak would have been the #1 champion on radio speaking against the individual she now supports. And all I am simply saying, comrade, she is an adult. She is free to support whomsoever she desires. And we are actually happy that she is where she thinks she feels at home. Because, as I said to you, behavior shapes character. And if it is that you are fully aware of the characters that surround you, do you believe that person would say you are different? Or would they say that all of them is basically the same? Because There is an old saying, show me your friends. In this case, let me say, show me your comrades, and I will tell you who you are. So I wanted to think about that, and the persons who would have asked that question, I want them to think about that. Behavior shapes character, and look and examine the characters of the two individuals that are positioning themselves to go up against the incumbent. The incumbent is the real enemy to the entire public service. Mr. Saunders, myself, have been consistent throughout the years. I don't only resurrect when there's an election like others, because throughout the past 4 years, where was that individual? The individual was nowhere around. The individual, as I said to you a while ago, has just come back into the public service, and we are indeed thankful that the charges were dropped and he's back in the public service. But what has he done since he has been back in the public service? Let's ask some questions. Has he reorganized his section, the estate police officers a section? Has he caused them to have an election where he could have been selected and elected to be on the section committee, whether it was the chairperson, the vice chairperson, or the secretary? Has the person become a conference of delegate representative? Has the person been chosen to be the general council representative? And the answer to those questions are a resounding no. So you have not even been back from the public, back into the public service in full for 6 months as yet, but you want to be president. You ain't even build back your own section, but you want to be president. You are not even a general council representative, but you want to be president. You're not even a conference of delegate member, but you want to be president. Comrade, I want to talk about issues to move our union forward. What we're doing is looking in the rearview mirror.
Well, you see, one may say that we're looking in the rearview mirror, but we have to get these things out of the way. And when we get these things out of the way, people must be clear in their mind, okay, these things are out, the field is now on a level playing field, and how do we move forward with this? Because do you have your team ready, Mr. Oral Saunders?
Comrade, my team comprises persons who are members of the PSA. They have served at various levels and in various capacities. My team has persons who are former executive officers, former activists, retirees. It is a well-oiled machine. That team of persons, the final 13, is going to be presented in the not too distant future, because the nomination day has been declared on the 3rd of January 2025. Before that day, you will see Oral Saunders and the United Public Officers, a united and dedicated and focused group of individuals who will refuse to be distracted. Our eyes are on the prize. Our mission is to unite both WASA and the public service. There is a threat to WASA, and I would have made a video quite recently about it, where several workers in WASA were bypassed during an appointment exercise, where persons with less service were placed on the appointed and final listing to become permanent, while leaving persons who were hardworking with much more service outside. Those are the persons who continue to complain to me. There are persons under Customs and Excise and the Board of Inland Revenue who are asking Mr. Saunders, will the PSA be representing me in the new TTRA? There are officers assigned to the Immigration Department who would have most recently seen or heard of an incident where one of their colleagues were assaulted and the PSA was a no-show. To date, the PSA has not spoken out against what transpired. And these are the issues that are plaguing the PSA, poor representation. And in these troubling times, the public service is saying no to the politicization of our union by the incumbents and their proxies. The public servants are saying, we want a change, we want better. We don't want persons who are simply only interested when there is an election to be in president. They want to see a person who would have been through all the rigors, the ups, the downs, the in-betweens, the highs, the lows, but has remained focused and remained steady. They recognize that the levels of consistency that the United Public Officers are going to present is the exact formula for placing a structure back into the PSA, which is going to guarantee that every single member of our union gets a voice on macro issues. Issues, for example, where the incumbents are trying to divide us based on who wants to accept 4 or 5%, as opposed to even if public servants were to get 47% salary increase tonight as we speak, tomorrow morning, if they have a grievance being bypassed for promotion and they call the PSA, no one is going to answer the phone. And even if somebody answers the phone, who is going to follow up on their grievance? They need that confidence to be returned to the PSA that the persons who they are placing there are dedicated, committed, and they possess the characteristics of leadership that they can lead the entire public service into the direction that they want us to go in. They are saying no to divisiveness, they are saying no to the politicization, and they are saying no to persons with characters and question marks over their heads.
Let me ask you one question. Because the question has been asked, because you talked about persons wanting that, whether it's $1,200 or whatever, as the back pay that they would have gotten to bring the salary up to 2024. My question is, well, the question has been asked, outside of just collecting money, what other type of negotiations would you be bringing to the table for your members in the PSA?
Comrade, thank you for such a wonderful question, the person who would have called, or if it is your question. And one of the most critical things to most public officers is the fact that they remain temporarily employed. And you have to understand, comrade, that persons who are temporarily employed are curtailed in how they can develop their own lives, their own personal lives. Because when you go to lending agencies to probably take out a mortgage, the most critical thing the lender wants to find out is if it is you have the ability to repay, separate and apart from your debt service ratio. They want to know that you are someone they could depend on because you are permanently employed. So what the PSA will look like is the fact that we will ensure once and for all that we treat with this issue of temporary appointments in the Central Public Service as well as in WASA. We are saying that that appointment exercise that took place in WASA, we would like to have an independent audit of that process because we understand that the PSA played a pivotal role in several workers being bypassed. We are going to those negotiations without a political agenda, a partisan political agenda. We are not speaking to members to get into their polling stations when the national election, the general election takes place, to tell them how to vote. That is their business. We are solely interested in representation. So we will be looking at negotiating, for example, for housing or land ownership for public officers. We know we will not be able to get land for every single one of them. But what we want to do is to create a similar situation as our comrades in the daily paid union. Imagine that, what they would have done in Balisier. We are interested in something of a similar nature. We will be dealing with making certain requests in terms of bonds, shares in state enterprises. We are interested in anything that would improve the lives of public officers. But as I said, to approach the CPO, we have a comprehensive plan in terms of how we go forward and what we present to him. Because there are issues, for example, the separation of casual leave and vacation leave. We are also looking at the debt benefits of the UNIMED plan. And I already said that the UNIMED plan continues to be of grave concern to many public officers. But at present, there's a debt benefit of only $50,000, sorry. And we would like to see an upward trajectory of that. A possible 75 or maybe 100,000 as a debt benefit to public officers. We are even contemplating making sure that the plan is still open for persons who reach 60 and beyond when they really need the plan. We are also looking at incentives to increase productivity and even flexi time. Because, comrade, let me tell you something. Many public officers wake up 3 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning to leave their respective homes, to travel to get into Port of Spain on time. And when they get home, they're getting back home in darkness. So they're leaving in darkness and they're coming back in darkness. We would want a partner to come up with an alternative to this regiment 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. So we want to look at productivity and how we could assist the state in raising revenue, because we believe if we as public officers can show how we are more productive, it makes our job as the union easier when it comes to negotiating for better terms and conditions of employment. We are also looking at partnering with law firms, UE, Cipriani Labor College, to start back the educational plans of the PSA for us to educate our members, as I said before. So we have several issues and ideas because, for example, another one is this. The public officers who come into Port of Spain with their vehicles is a rush, is a crazy rush to reach in Port of Spain so you could find the side of the road to park their vehicle. But sometimes you have to park your vehicle so far away from work, and sometimes you're in your office minding your business, doing your work, comrade, and there's a downpour, and you're not even aware that there's a downpour. But when you come outside, your car flooded out because you park it on the side of the road and the rains came up so much, it flash flooded, that you are constrained in terms of the damages to your vehicle. We know that the government owns so many of the car parks in Port of Spain. Why not negotiate some form of subsidized parking for public officers? So we are saying, comrade, what about the internet service? I know TTGov is trying to expand internet services to as wide as possible. We would want to negotiate to ensure that public officers do reap the benefits of such, because persons can work from home. We can't be afraid of it. We have to embrace the changes. So these are just some of the ideas that we would want to definitely speak with the chief personnel officer with, and to come up with even other ideas that we don't want to give out too much of what we have in the goodie bag, that others would piggyback on it. But certainly, comrade, there is a will to alleviate the suffering of public servants. That fact that we are still on 2013 salaries is weighing heavily on many persons, especially single mothers in the public service. Many
Well,
single.
let me ask.
Sorry.
Well, let me ask you this question. And now that we have all these things that are clear, and you talk about the heavy load, although one or two persons are saying that's a heavy load that you're asking for basically. The question is this: will you be going and getting all the players who are at that round table to bring them under your banner to fight this election with PSA?
Comrade, they're already with me. They're already with us, the United Public Officers. As I explained to you, we have persons from various of those teams that went up at the last election. You see, the United Public Officers team remains an attractive place for persons to come to, because they recognize that if it is we really want a serious fight and a serious chance at reclaiming ownership, because that is really what this fight is about. This fight, comrade, is about giving the membership of the PSA, giving them back the ownership of the Public Services Association. Do you know, comrade, as we speak, we continue to be meeting virtually. There are public officers who are general counsel representatives and they have never seen the inside of the head office of the PSA. It is that bad. You can recall we had the COVID situation where persons weren't coming out. And then now we had a new president in 2022. And we are still practically locked out of the PSA. We are not getting access. But when WASA wants a meeting, Mr. Batiste opens up the building for some of his friends in WASA, because we know many persons in WASA he doesn't want with him either. And we cannot have even our special conference of delegates meeting in the building. We can't even have a general council meeting. But speaking about those meetings, let me just quickly add. At last week's special conference of delegates meeting, Mr. Leroy Batiste, the PSA president, was again absent. He wasn't only the person absent, his first vice president was also absent. The meeting was actually chaired by the second vice president. And there's a level of consistency in his tardiness and laziness, because Mr. Batiste has not attended a meeting of the Public Services Association's General Council, the second highest decision-making body in the PSA, in over a year. As I said to you the last time we spoke, comrade, and let me just reiterate, for persons who aren't accurate with the rules of the PSA, let's make the analogy of your credit union. Can it happen in your credit union that you are having your annual AGM and the chairman of the credit union, the president of your credit union is absent? You call a special meeting, he absent again. And he absent for over a year of meetings. Every time the board is meeting, he's absent. Will that be acceptable to the members of a credit union? Because that is what is happening in the PSA.
So let me, because I don't want to get into too much things tonight. I don't want to get into too much things because we have to bring it back And we'll have to start looking at the teams, because the third is nomination, and we will want to start seeing the team members who will be offering themselves and vying for the different positions within the PSC. But one of the things that I realized that Mr. Batiste is doing is he's using a strategic move, a strategic plan on the rest of the teams, because he knows that it's carnival time. And if the nomination is on the 3rd, that is when basically people now looking to relax and refresh the mind, because the first is going to be a Wednesday or something. So no, Christmas is there. The first will be a Wednesday, and the second and the third will be Friday. Basically, will be nomination, and that's when people looking to basically try to get home and sailing with their team, to get back out to work on Monday, which will be basically carnival again. Is it that Mr. Batiste is using a strategic plan that he knows for a fact that many of the workers may be studying carnival and not studying the PSA election?
Comrade, you are on point, but that is just one of his strategies, and I'll explain it in great detail to ensure that those listeners and viewers fully understand what is taking place. And the number one issue with that is the fact that the PSA normally keeps its elections within the 4-year period. The last time we would have gone to the polls was on the 18th of December in the year 2020. This is the first time that the PSA is actually using the outer parameters of that period, meaning to say 90 days, within 90 days after the 14th of December, because he is thinking two things are taking place simultaneously. He is banking on us, Mr. Callender, myself, persons like Coffee, persons like Maury, persons like Comrade Kova, continuing to fight one another. So we would split votes. He's banking on that. In fact, our information is they are secretly financing certain individuals just to split votes, because they recognize that the United Public Officers team is the most credible threat. And if you look at their social media platforms and the videos that they have been putting out, Fearless, you'll notice there's only one name of the presidential candidates they're calling repeatedly. They're not calling that other guy who just returned from suspension, because they recognize he's not a threat. They know his role. His role is strictly to be a spoiler. That's all he's really about, to be a spoiler in these elections. He doesn't have a track record of bringing sufficient votes to be taken seriously. So why is he in the race? So he as in Mr. Batiste, is banking on us fighting, us public officers fighting amongst ourselves, because we can't get it right and we can't become mature enough to understand that there must be a leader and there must be other officers to assist the leader. That's one. The other strategy, as you have correctly identified, is to use the outer parameters of the PSA's constitution to push this election during two festive periods, namely the Christmas and Yuletide season, where persons try to relax and try to, as you rightfully said, they try to take their mind off of the seriousness, because we are looking towards Christmas, and you want to drink, you want to eat, you want to just try to forget your sorrows for at least a day or two. He is depending on persons to also forget what threat they are to the public service. And then following that, as you rightfully said, coming out of the Yuletide season, we are actually going directly into the Bacchanal Carnival season. But what I would say on the record tonight is, do not for one moment of my fellow public officers play mass with your future. Do not play mass with your future. Vote the United Public Officers, because if it is the incumbents are placed back into the PSA, it is going to be a continuation of the same old poor performance, laziness, tardiness, incompetence, and poor representation. Basically, it will be a continuation of no Christmas parties for our children, no bursaries for our children who may have excelled at SCA, C, or even university. No charitable contributions to any home in need or individuals, or even members who may have fallen on some tough or difficult times through some tragedy. All of these things will continue to be a thing of the past. There will be no meetings, physical meetings where we can meet with one another and debate issues and sometimes agree to disagree. There will be no unification between WASA and the public service and Tobago. The United Public Officers, we are going to unite all of those factions. We are going to put back in the structure that ensures representation to every single member by using the regional representation system. So we want public officers to understand these are the issues. The fact that you haven't gotten back your check, the fact that you have been bypassed for promotion and you are repeatedly calling the PSA and nobody is coming. If it is, you have to go to a tribunal and work on the workplace. No one is coming to represent you. Nobody has the competence to follow up to even find out what is going on. No one is listening to you that you are in desperate need of some ease in terms of the salary and other compensation that we are receiving currently. So those are the distractions that Mr. Batiste would want us to be. But I have just said to you what public officers must remain focused upon. Because as important as this election is to WASA workers, because Mr. Batiste is only peddling in fear-mongering. He's frightening the workers, trying to tell them, don't take on oral, be afraid of oral. Oral were 4%, oral were 5%, oral this, oral that. They only calling my name because they are fearful of me. But I do not want my comrades in WASA to be afraid of us in the public service. Because even when we win the elections, come the 10th of March, the Constitution gives the section in WASA the full autonomy to conduct their own negotiations. And speaking about their own negotiations, let's make the differentiation. At present, there is only an offer on the table for public servants. Those videos you're seeing them making in WASA, no one has offered them anything as yet. Their negotiations have not begun. But instead of having them out in the public service negotiations, they should be minding their business about ensuring that the workers in WASA receive proper and fair representation, beginning with a revisiting of that unacceptable job appointment exercise that bypassed so many legitimate, hard-working WASA workers. To date, comrade, despite that situation taking so long, the PSA WASA section has never taken the management to court for that appointment exercise because they know they were involved in it. There have been no demonstration in WASA to fight for those persons who were bypassed. Everything was just hunky-dory until they saw Oral Saunders and the United Public Officers putting up videos and they recognized that the election was around the corner. They now start to get life. Those persons, you never saw them before. You never heard from them before. Mr. Batiste could be walking right down the road right now and people don't even make him up because they just don't know him. He is lazy. He's over 60. He does not come out of his ivory towers unless there is a threat of Oral Saunders and United Public Officers coming out It's only when he sees us, then he's want to get onto the media to now do our interview. And there's only one place he does go. He not coming to mainstream media. He going to one place where, you know, it will be a soft interview. Not like you, comrade, that will make sure you get to the bottom of the issue and push me, although I want to talk about other things. There is only go to so they know they could push around. You would never hear them on a Dale and Tony show in the morning. You will not hear them on this guy who used to be on TV6, Mr. Mohammed Fazir. They can't stand up kind of interviews. They are hiding from their own members because they don't even want them to come in the building, comrade. There is no building in San Fernando, although so much money would have been passed for us to rebuild. And how could I forget our comrades in Tobago? The last time I went to Tobago to visit the PSA's office, we were in a plywood shack looking thing. And I know for a fact that several thousands of dollars were passed by our General Council and our conference to rebuild that PSA office in Tobago. Now, even the plywood building, as far as we are aware, is non-existent. They have decided to move the office to another location to rent from somewhere else. Comrade, we as public officers have been left behind. We have been left.
But let me ask you this question before we wrap up and stuff. All those people who proclaiming those 2,700 WASA workers, are they legitimate PSA members?
Well, I wouldn't want to query it, but I know that number sounds a little bit skewed. But nonetheless, even if there were 4,000 workers in WASA, I could give you the assurance tonight that 4,000 workers do not find favor in the section nor the leadership of the PSA. Because as I said to you, comrade, the PSA has been lazy, tardy, and complicit in compiling the list of persons who were appointed and bypassing several long-serving, dedicated workers in WASA. So there is a lot of displeasure and disdain for Mr. Leroy Batiste and his proxies in WASA. And they have been calling me to tell me, thank you, Comrade Saunders, because it's only when you raise the issue, we're seeing something happening in WASA. They now want to get our names to find out who were the persons that were bypassed. For all these years, they never took the names because they have the names. They want to pretend that they're going to do something on this 99th hour. The first, there was a new manager, as you are aware, that came into WASA. Are they going to meet with him, or are they going to use the same words that Mr. Batiste used in Faizabad, that he is not prepared to meet with the CPO under this current administration? He wants to wait until there's a new government. Will the WASA section also adopt that nonsensical approach to this new manager? While workers are paying our salaries or their salaries as a union representatives to represent them, are they going to use the approach of we're not negotiating because you under the PNM government? And this is not to defend the PNM government, but I am simply stating, comrade, that the leaders of a union such as ours in the public service cannot afford to be biased. It is not a tenable situation or tenable position to maintain, because the PSA comprises of persons who are proud members of the United, and we have persons who are also proud members of the PNM. We have persons who are in the PDP, persons who support Mr. Gary Griffith, persons who support Ms. Michaela Pandey, and so forth and so forth. And there are even persons who do not belong to any political party. So when we as a union chooses to support one of those political parties as opposed to remaining apolitical, which means you're not supporting it, membership. And once it is you alienating a certain section of your membership, you are shooting your own self in the foot. You are paralyzing your tiny hand behind your back. So, comrade, we are about uniting, we are about serving, and we are about turning around this union to make it be in a more attractive place for many public officers to come back home. Because many public officers, from a high back in my day when I was training in the PSA, where we would have had in excess of 20,000 members, the PSA is now down to 11,000. Can you imagine that? The PSA is many months are spending more money than they are even earning. They don't even have the moral authority to speak out against the government in terms of deficit financing because they are practicing that on a monthly basis in the PSA.
Hey, leave it there. Final words, because I know we will be bringing you back, but we'll be also bringing back your team also, because we want the public to see your team, as well as we will find out from Mr. NIXON what is happening with his team and what is his plans and his goals going forward. And then hopefully, if it is, and again I'm asking this question, if it is that a debate, a presidential debate arises, would you be willing to subject yourself to that debate?
Comrade, I am going the distance. As I said, look at my track record. I have never gone anywhere, you know. I have never been on suspension. I've always been here, speaking out. I will never stop. Whatever opportunities present itself, as long as the individuals are credible persons and persons who we believe really has the union and the public service at heart, we will be there. But as far as we are concerned, let me reiterate, the gentleman of whom you speak is not a threat. He is not a concern. And as far as we are concerned, sadly, he is of nuisance value because he has failed to be mature enough to understand that the union and the public service is bigger than his own ego. Until persons can reach that level of maturity, comrade, we are not going to waste our time to engage them. Let them go and say what they want. No one is listening to them. No one is taking them on. They have no character. And all they are distractions. Our focus is on rebuilding the PSA and unifying the public service and addressing the needs and concerns of every single public officer, whether they are members or not. We will represent because we believe, based on our behavior, persons will want to return to the PSA as long as they see the backs of those incumbents. They will return to the PSA. And I will close by saying, as I said before, I cannot do this on my own, and I am thankful to Almighty God for my family in the first instance, my beautiful wife and my son, and my other son who isn't with us, but is around, my daughter who's abroad, my other daughter who's outside there.
With that football,
no, that's my stepdaughter.
Yes, one of the football
no, because I have my stepchildren, and you know we practice, and you all will see for yourselves that unity begins in my home. We are not just the united public officers; we are united even under this roof. So I am thankful for my fam, thankful for Almighty God for keeping me over the years, 2009 to now, and continuing to fight for public officers and speak out has not been an easy road. I am thankful for Almighty God for keeping me, thanking Him for my family, and thanking Him for these persons who are going to volunteer themselves to assist the United Public Officers team in rebuilding and reshaping and re-energizing the entire public service, that the PSA will be once again a respected union. We don't want to be fair, we want to be respected. That is our aim. People must get back the respect for the union. And in order to get back the respect for the union, they must have respect for the leader. And that is how we are going to lead. We are going to lead by example and not by declarations of goodwill and nice words, charming words. No, we have a track record. So we are going to rebuild our union, and we are thankful for you, comrade, for giving us this platform tonight. Thanking all those persons who may have watched the program, even if it is in part. We are thankful for them. Everything we would have said tonight is the truth. It is the gospel truth, and we could call on persons to verify for you what transpired at those unity meetings before Mr. Callender picked up his marbles and decided he doesn't want to play again. We have the witness.
Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Ora Saunders, and we look forward to seeing your team and also to hearing the response from the other side that is also probably putting up the self or the meeting or Saunders. Let me join with you. So that was Mr. Ora Saunders, and that was Mr. Ora Saunders. Just yeah. So that was Mr. Ora Saunders, and that concludes our show for tonight. In where we have with Fine Point, and we do apologize for Monday's Fine Point that we wanted to have at 8 o'clock, but due to the elections coverage, we had to reschedule that program. But the guest is understandable and is understanding actually, and we did have our next guest tonight, and tomorrow we're going to have Mr. Mikey Joseph, the head of the construction and industry, well, the former head of the Construction Association, the Joint Construction Association, and many other hats he wore. So we're going to have him here tomorrow. We're going to be talking governance tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the Office of Procurement. We're going to be talking business. We're going to be talking, and we just going to be talking. But also, you putting in your 2 cents. You can call, you can ask questions, you can actually be a part of the whole discussion. Do not be afraid. A closed mouth could never be fed. So if you want to get the information, you need to log on tomorrow, and you also have to be able to ask the questions to get the answers. People, let me just take a quick break, and we will close off the show after.
Bounce
So
Up
let's go.
Central Network. We're ready to bounce up to Carnival 2025.
As we prepare for Bounce Up Carnival 2025, we want to make sure that you are also ready with us on the road, in the fets, in the clubs, Calypso, Down Skinner Park, Panyard, Peregrinades, Midnight Rubbers, even the barman, the bawa, what do you call him? The bow, what do you call him again? The barman, not the barman, the stick fighting. Yeah, stick fighting. So, get ready. 2025, we on the road. Bounce Up Carnival. Don't miss it. You dig?
For more news, informative content, entertainment, special events, Tune in to Culture Point Show Thursdays at 8 p.m. and visit our Bounce Up Central Community Hub, the platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we. Bounce Up Central Network. Tune in for shows like Let We Talk to Ting with Sister Jenny every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Culture Points on Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. And Fine Point with Fearless Warrior at various showtimes. For more news, informative content, entertainment, special events, discussion forums, Bounce Up Radio, movie watch parties, and to even bus a mark anonymously, visit our Bounce Up Central Community Hub, the platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we. Keep the conversation going, even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat at bounceup.com. If you have a passion for news, politics, culture, music, sports, technology, and helping your community, we invite you to come join the Bounce Up Central Network family. Come join us.
Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance. Join host Fearless Warrior and the Dauntless crew every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Tune in this week as we welcome our special guest, businessman, Mr. Mikey Joseph, Director, Structural and Mechanical Agencies Limited, Chairman, Termite Attack Limited and Partner SMAL Engineering Services Limited. Watch the show live on our Bounce Up Central platform and social media channels, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Keep the conversation going before, during, and even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat on Bounce Up Central at bounceup.com.
All right, and remember tomorrow at 8 o'clock, Mr. Mikey Joseph, the businessman, the father, the grandfather, the patriarch of Trinidad and Tobago, will be here, live and in living color, on Bounce Up Central Network, bounceup.com, our YouTube, Facebook, and also on our platform, bounceup.com. See you all tomorrow. Have a productive night. Stay safe. Remember, be bold, be brave, be fearless.